actually repelled every single attack, every single one. And at the end of most of the major fighting, which was after about a week, the United States had lost fewer than 1,000 troops. The North Vietnamese lost 35,000 of the 85,000 troops. And if we look at the Vietnam War as a whole, we see that America lost 58,000 men and North Vietnam lost over 3 million people. And a close examination also reveals that America actually won nearly every major battle it fought. So it raises a very interesting question. How do you win all the battles, decimate your enemy, and lose the war? It raises new questions about how we understand the concept of winning and losing. James Carsey, a theologian from NYU, wrote a little book called Finite and Infinite Games, in which he talks about games and how we play them. Basically, if you have at least two competitors, you have a game. And there are two types of games. There are finite games and there are infinite games. Finite games are defined as known players, fixed rules, and an agreed upon objective, like football. We all agree what the rules are. We all agree whoever has more points at the end of the game is the winner. The game concludes and we all go home. Then you have an infinite game. An infinite game is defined as known and unknown players. The rules are changeable, and the objective is to perpetuate the game, to keep the game in play. When you put a finite player versus a finite player, the system is stable. Football is stable. When you pit an infinite player versus an infinite player, the system is also stable. The Cold War was stable because we cannot have a winner or a loser. And so we both keep playing until one of the players runs out of the will or the resources to keep playing, and then they drop out of the game. Problems arise, however, when you pit a finite player versus an infinite player, because a finite player is playing to win and an infinite player is playing to keep playing, and they make very different strategic choices. And invariably what happens is the finite player finds themselves in quagmire. They find themselves frustrated and running through the will and resources required for them to stay in the game. And this is what happened to American Vietnam. America was fighting to win, and the North Vietnamese were fighting for their lives. A very different set of strategic choices were made. And it's not so much that America lost, it's that they ran out of the will or the resources to continue to stay in the game, and so they dropped out. So this gets me thinking. There's no such thing as winning global politics. There's no such thing as winning governance. And there's definitely no such thing as winning business. But when we listen to the language of too many leaders, they don't know the game we're in. They talk about being number one, or being the best, or beating their competition. Based on what? Based on what metric? Based on what time frame? These are infinite games. And when we play with a finite mindset in an infinite game, there's a few very predictable things that happen. Trust declines, cooperation declines, innovation declines, and eventually we run out of the will or the resources to play. And in business, we call this bankruptcy or merger and acquisition.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Nuts and Bolts. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Kalpesh Patel, and as always, I'm super excited to be here with you on a Wednesday, once again, sharing some nuggets, some experiences, some wisdom, if you like, of things that I've gone through in my journey as an entrepreneur. And by the way, for those that don't know me, I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. I've never had a job, never worked for anybody else. I have no idea what a boss is supposed to be like. I like that relationship of boss and employee doesn't exist in my sphere of understanding. I've observed it. I've worked with organizations that have those structures, but I'm always educating and empowering people to break free of that and create freedom. So for me, I love having everyone think about that concept. What would it be like if you were your boss? What would it be like if you owned your life? What would life be like if you were 100% responsible for all of the results that you produce? What would life be like if you were rewarded proportionately to your knowledge, your understanding, your skill base, and your effort? What if there were no limits placed by others? What if there were no limits placed by a boss, a manager, whoever else decides whether you get promoted or not? What if you decided when you got promoted? How cool would that be? Like, really? Now, the reality is most people wouldn't know what to do with that level of freedom and power. Hate to be so blunt, but that's just how life is. Because if we were willing to stand in our power, we wouldn't, by default, need somebody else to tell us what to do and when to do it. Can you see? You wouldn't need anyone to tell you what time you should show up, what time you should go home, what time you should take a pee, what time you should have lunch. You'd have lunch when you're hungry. You'd go home when you finish working. You'd show up when you're ready to start working, right? But most people do not have the capacity to take on that level of responsibility unless what? Unless there's a massive desire to override the easy. Like, really. Because if we look at it head on, and I really want to, I want to touch on this in a way that maybe jars you as well a little bit. Take yourself out of your structure of existence for a minute. Take yourself outside of your structure of existence and observe it. Observe your structure of existence as if you were a fly on the wall, looking at your life. Just for a minute, do that. And then answer this question. Are you playing full out and to your best potential, or do you just do the minimum? Do you just do the minimum? What is the minimum? Well, how many of you stay awake to watch television, but you won't stay awake to educate yourself on a new skill or new knowledge? Do you see? How many of you will wake up early Monday to Friday to beat the traffic or to catch the right train or the right bus to get to work on time, but you refuse to wake up early on your days off? Can you see? When somebody else tells you to do something, you'll do it. It's not that you lack the ability. You'll do it. But you won't do it for yourself. Can you see? So I really want you to examine, what is that? What is it about you as an infinitely powerful human being that you won't give yourself that power? You will happily work overtime when the boss requires it or offers it, whatever the motivation, whether it's because you need the extra money or because you're too scared to say no because you might lose your job, whatever the motivation. But when the boss says we need you for an extra 3 hours on Friday night, or we need you to work this Saturday, or we need you to work on this bank holiday, or whatever it might be, we need you to work this Christmas or this Diwali or this Eid. When the boss says it, you do it. Interesting, isn't it? But when you say I'm going to succeed. I'm going to make something of myself. I'm going to build an empire. You won't wake up early. You won't stay up late. You won't work lunchtimes. You won't do overtime. You won't give up a Friday night or a Saturday or a Sunday. Isn't it interesting? And then you wonder why you won't get the result. And really, it's right there in your face. If you would only step out of your life for a second and, like a fly on the wall, observe your patterns of behavior. So for me, it boils down to, and some of us have it already, and some of us need to find it, desire. Your desire to succeed is far more important than the idea of success. There's not a human being on the planet that will not get excited about the idea of success. Not one. Not a single human being on this planet will turn away more freedom. And for me, success is freedom, right? Ultimate success is ultimate freedom. Not a single human being on the planet will turn away more freedom. If you went to any human being and said, listen, I will pay your expenses for the rest of your life, so you can do whatever you want to do with your life. I mean, you'd have to struggle to find somebody, wouldn't you? That would say, nah, you're all right, mate. No, thank you. Keep it. Not interested. Imagine if somebody knocked on your door and said, listen, I'll pay all your expenses for the rest of your life. Go do what you want to do. No expectation, no burden, no debt, nothing. I'll make sure you've got a roof over your head, food on the table, clothes on your back. I'll make sure if you want to go and travel, you can go travel. I'll make sure whatever you want. You want to drive a nice car, we'll get you a nice car. You want to live in different countries every month, we'll make sure that happens for you. If somebody came and said that, you would grab the opportunity with both hands, wouldn't you? Well, guess what? Nobody's going to say that, but you can do that. That's what's available. Is it easy? No, of course it isn't. If it was, we'd all do it anyway, right? The whole point is that it's not easy. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be possible. And then it's up to you to step into the space. I call it the gap between you and success. And the gap, believe it or not, is never as daunting as we make it in our head. The drama in our head about that gap is way, way bigger than the reality. Now, of course, there is a gap. And like I said, it's not an easy gap to bridge. Take some working, take some figuring stuff out. You know, it's a lot to do between where you are and that freedom. There's a journey, there's a road, there's a path to get through, right? But guess what? It's up to you to figure it out. You are 100% capable, but also responsible. You're 100% capable and 100% responsible for bridging the gap. No one's going to do it for you. No one is going to come and hand it to you on a plate. All right? So now here's the thing. Are you fired up enough to do whatever it takes? Is there a fire strong enough in your belly that you wake up early by default? You don't need an alarm to remind you to wake up early. You just do. You just wait. You can't help but wake up early because you can't wait when you go to sleep the night before to get sleep out of the way. When's the last time you felt like that? You go to sleep because you respect your body needs the rest. You respect the physical. Don't ignore the physical or you pay the price later. So you respect the physical. If you need 6 hours, go grab them. If you need 8 hours, go grab them. But then you also respect the possible. So you're up early. even half an hour earlier than you would be normally. Makes a massive difference over time. Effort compounded over time produces a result always at lightning speed. What we lack is that consistency. You can't compound your learning and your skills, and you can't accelerate your journey to success if you're not consistent. Unfortunately, the numbers are a little bit against you. I say unfortunately because most people lack consistency. And what happens is you'll do a whole ton of work. When you see something, you get excited, you make a commitment, and you'll go all out, massive action for a week or two, and then you'll go missing for a week or two. And when you go missing for a week or two, you may as well have not done the first 2 weeks in the first place, because you undo all of it and more. Because what happens, you come in all guns blazing, you tell the world that you're going to dominate, you're going to crush it, you're going to make it happen, and then you don't. And then you come back a couple of months later and say, I'm going to crush it, I'm going to dominate, I'm going to make it happen. And then you disappear again for another month. And then you come back and you're not consistent. And nobody can count on you. And when they can't count on you to be consistent and committed and focused, guess what? Why are they ever going to follow your lead? When you turn with the wind, one day you're on, the next day you're off. One day you're making it happen, the next day you're not making anything happen. Why is anyone going to follow somebody that doesn't know what they're doing themselves? So you got to fine tune yourself, right? Desire is not something that switches off. It's not an on-off switch. It's there. You either want it or you don't want it. And if you find that you let yourself down, then you've got to find more reasons of wanting it. Like really get in touch with why. Why should you succeed? Turning up on a Zoom about success is not enough to succeed. If it was, everyone that turned up on a Zoom would succeed. Do you see? Going to a seminar about success is not going to create success ever. It's not enough. Otherwise, every person that went to a seminar ever in their life would be successful. Because every seminar is rock solid, amazing, mind-blowing, phenomenal growth opportunities every time. But on its own, it's not enough. Your desire to change and make the changes around you is what makes the difference. Can you see? What's the old phrase? And there's tons of these phrases around the industry, right? Of direct selling and entrepreneurship. How does it go? Ignorance on fire will beat knowledge on ice every single day of the week. Write that down. It's one of my favorite sayings. Ignorance on fire will beat knowledge on ice every single time. It's a myth that you need to know everything to succeed. You don't. There are a ton of people out there that know a lot of shit and they don't do shit. They walk around sounding clever and looking clever, but they're not progressing. There's no measurable growth in terms of results. A lot of academics are like that. Multiple PhDs, multiple letters after their name. They spend decades, heads in books, but no progress. And then there's somebody else that drops out of college and smashes it, lives the ultimate life, travels, enjoys the good stuff, does what they want, when they want, how they want, with who they want, lives life on their own terms. They don't care. They don't care about what they don't know. They don't care about how little they know. What they care about is their burning desire to do something and make something happen. And they get up every single day and they bump their head up against it over and over and over again until they move forward. And they wake up again the next day and they keep bumping their head up against it until they make another step forward. Then they wake up again and they bump their head until they make another step forward. They keep doing that. They don't care. They're so fired up. They're so committed that no obstacle gets in the way. No circumstance gets in the way. No story gets in the way. No self-destructive idea or self-concept gets in the way. They don't care. They don't care that they're thicker than their counterparts. Those of you that know me know that about me as well. I don't care. I am crap at tech, and I've made millions in tech in the last 28 years. I don't know jack about. Anyone that knows me knows I know nothing about tech. I'm crap. I don't even know how to add my email to my laptop. I have to get my nephew or my girlfriend or my cousin or somebody else to do, anyone else to do it but me. I wouldn't know how to do it. I set up a new email a few months ago and I was accessing it by logging onto the website to go to the email. For months, the inconvenience, until my nephew hooked it up onto my laptop to come along with the rest of my emails. And I was like, oh, that's cool. It's there now. Now I don't have to log onto a separate website. It comes straight onto my laptop. Well, I didn't know how to do that. And he did it in about 5 seconds. But guess what? He hasn't made millions. See what I'm saying? He doesn't wake up earlier than he has to wake up. And he doesn't stay awake later than he can. And he doesn't have a fire in his belly. And it's cool. But that's why I often tell him, he's not the guy that's going to set the world on fire. And that's cool. You don't have to set the world on fire. You don't even have to set your own world on fire. But guess what? If you can find that fire inside of you, you will live a life that is far more fulfilling than a life without a fire in your belly. Neither one is right or wrong. Neither one is better or worse. But I'm an absolute believer that those that find a fire in their belly, a reason to wake up early and a reason to stay back late and a reason to work weekends, those are the people that have the best life always. Versus the people that have no reason to wake up early and no reason to stay up late and no reason to do anything on the weekend other than slouch. Can you see? All good. All good. But we have the potential. And for me, that's what keeps me excited about life, like the potential. What else is possible? What else is possible? Not like how you know yourself yesterday, but how you could get to know yourself tomorrow. If you just made a little improvement on a consistent basis over time, who would you be 6 months from now? Who would you be 12 months from now? Some of you speak the same way you spoke 20 years ago. I transformed the way that I speak, completely transformed it. In my youth, I was raised in East London. I spoke with a very strong Cockney accent. I didn't spend the first part of my life speaking like this. I was dropping T's and H's and, you know what I mean, mate? I thought that was cool. I thought it was cool to speak in a way that nobody understood what you were saying. That was me. I thought it was cool to speak in a way that nobody knew what I was saying. But guess what? My dad pulled me over one day and said, let me tell you something. People that speak like that, generally speaking, don't get far. He said, look around. Study the people that get further ahead. They don't speak like that. They make the effort to speak better. Guess what I started doing? I made the effort to speak better. Just little things, not big things, little things. I went through a phase where I started expanding my vocabulary. Like, what a thing. I actually went through a phase where I'd learn a new word every day for months on end. And before I knew it, I was like feeling really clever because I had extra words at my disposal to describe different scenarios and different concepts. I could reach more people by having a wider variety of words to reach into. Can you see? It's just benefit, right? Does it take much to learn one extra word a day for 6 months? No. But if you learn 180 new words in the next 6 months, you'd move from where you are to the top 5% in vocabulary, because most people do not do that. Hardly anyone does it, actually. Most languages consist of us using a few hundred words at best for our whole life. It's a few hundred words that we use from the minute that we learn to speak till the day we die. It's only a few hundred words. We regurgitate them in different orders, but 95% of the population uses a few hundred words for their entire life. So if you added a couple of hundred words, you're already a genius. Can you see? You move into genius really quickly. Doesn't take much. You don't need 10,000 new words to be a genius. Just an extra 100 or 2 will do, and you'll shine head and shoulders above the masses. You'll stand out head and shoulders above the masses. And that's how leadership is born. Now you're worth listening to. All of a sudden, people want to hear what you're going to say. How are you going to explain it next? How are you going to reiterate it? How are you going to, share it in a way that appeals to different groups of people at different times? Are you able to switch gears? Can you speak to a 5-year-old and connect there, and then speak to a 75-year-old and connect there just as well as you speak to somebody your own age? How flexible are you? How easily can you move gears? All based on how much experience you give yourself, right? You don't know who you are. You only know yourself from yesterday. You do not know your potential. That's the whole point of potential. The whole point of potential is that we don't know it. It's there to be discovered, to be explored. None of us know our potential. We only know our history. We only know our past. 95% of the planet only lives in their past. They only repeat what they know about themselves. They wake up tomorrow exactly like they were yesterday. Too scared to change, too scared to add a color or 2 to their palette of colors. If you're pastel your whole life. Imagine adding gloss. Or if you're gloss your whole life. Imagine adding pastels. You see what I'm saying? Imagine mixing some of the colors up and seeing what happens, experimenting. That's what success for me is. That when you are able to overcome your own boundaries, to do. And guess what? That's the only place magic happens. Magic happens in the unfamiliar. Most people live a very familiar life. Groundhog Day. What's that Jim Carrey movie? I don't know, it slips my mind now. It will come to me. But, it's not much. That's the point I'm making. The desire is what makes the difference. Anyone can access all of everything I've shared. Anyone can do all the things I've shared. If you invited 100 people to come and look at your business in the next 30 days, you will have done more than 99% of every single entrepreneur will ever do. And here's what happens when you do that. And when I say invite, I don't mean send out 100 messages. I mean, if you picked up the phone and spoke to 100 people, physical conversations in the next 30 days. It's only 3 conversations a day, by the way, and maybe 4 on the weekends, right? I'm not asking you to do something that's, overwhelmingly out of the stratosphere to do. But if you spoke to 3 people every day and 4 on the weekends, and you got to 100 in a month, you'll have done more than 99% of people do in the entire planet of direct selling. Full stop. 100 intentional conversations in 30 days. And here's what's going to happen. You're going to learn about you. You're going to learn about people. And you're going to learn how to be flexible in every conversation. Because after 100 conversations with 100 different human beings, and not any conversation is going to be the same, they'll all be different. You've picked up a ton of skills, which means that when you go into month 2, first of all, speaking to 100 people in a month isn't a daunting task anymore. It becomes second nature. And second of all, you have a much wider available plethora of tools in your tool bag to reach into to handle every conversation you're having, however it turns up. And all of a sudden you start thinking on your feet. You start reacting and responding and communicating in real time. And that's when people are inspired. That's when they're touched. Because they see the growth. It's evidence in front of them. You become a master of conversation. You become somebody that can dance in conversation. It's a beautiful thing to dance in a conversation, to have the freedom to not judge and not care about being judged and move the conversation forward. Just a commitment to move the conversation forward no matter what. You can be on two ends of the spectrum and still find a middle ground. That's all that happens when you practice this consistently over time. That's all that ever happens, is that you get better for you and you become better for the world. What more do we want? If you can be better for you and better for the world, happy days. It's a win. It's a win for everybody, right? So find your fire. What is that? Like, why? Why should you wake up early? Why should you stay up late? Why should you work weekends? Why should you work through your lunch hour? Why? Why should you speak to 100 people in a month? Why should you learn another word every month? And a useful word, by the way, right? Don't just learn words that you're never going to use and are completely useless. Add the words that are going to add to your texture. But you see what I'm saying? Like, why? Why should you do any of that? Why should you read a new book every month? Or if you're brave enough, every week? And you don't have to read them, listen to them, whatever, watch them. Why? Why should you put stuff in your head? Why should you add skills? If you don't have that reason clear on the outset, you're not going to do it. You'll do it for a week or two. You'll do it for a month or two. And then you'll find a reason not to do it anymore. 28 years. 28 years. It's consistent, right? I bump into people that, oh yeah, I fell out of network marketing for X number of years. Why? For me, it's like, you just didn't understand it. That you're in for all the wrong reasons then, weren't you? Because once you understand something, the journey doesn't matter. Then it's just the journey, right? Once you understand a concept and you fall in love with a concept or an idea, be flexible with the journey. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, there's going to be swings, there's going to be roundabouts. You're going to fall off them sometimes, you're going to get back on them sometimes, and sometimes you're going to fall off them and hurt yourself, where, you're going to have to really question a lot of stuff. And in that time, the only reason for you to stay on the horse or get back on the horse or keep moving forward is going to be because you have a strong enough desire to do so. Otherwise, you will not. It's painful. It is painful. Especially the higher you climb, the bigger the fall. So, falling a short distance, a small distance, you can handle. Staying at the bottom often is comfortable, right? When you stay at the bottom, when something doesn't work out for you, it's just a small fall. It's easy to get up again and have another small fall and get up again and have another small fall. It's why babies survive falling, right? Babies fall and get up and go again because the fall is short. But the higher you climb, that fall can really take the wind out of you. Maybe even crack a couple of bones sometimes. The higher you climb, the nastier the fall can be. And if you don't have a burning desire and a fire in your belly and a strong enough reason and a why to get back up and get going again, you won't. So I'm always more interested in that. Like, once you've got that sorted, the rest is so, and it's difficult. I was going to say it's so easy, but it's not. But it's so much easier. It's not easy, but it's so much easier when you've got that bit sorted. It's a big bit of the puzzle, a huge bit of the puzzle. The skills are the easiest part, in fact. The skills are the easiest part of this business. But your burning desire to continue to grow and learn and develop and share and give, if you like, give back, pay it forward, contribute. That's the bit where the magic is. So consume more so you can give out more. So I want to hear from some of you. I'd love to hear from some of your experiences of your journey, of maybe some of the things that I've touched on today, about how a burning desire, a fire in your belly, a strong enough reason, a why, is either there for you, or when it's not, what does that mean? What's the impact of that? How quickly do you slip off of the path? How quickly do you fall off the treadmill? Or are you just one of those that's always on the treadmill, no matter what? Like whatever it is, what's your experience and where you at in the journey? We've got Senal. Go ahead and unmute.
Hello, sir. I
Hi.
would not like to know, is this a workshop type of like how I build stuff and shit? Because like I don't want to bomb places, you know. I don't want to be in the wrong place.
Yeah, it is absolutely. And I hope you've enjoyed what you've heard so far. And we do this every single Wednesday, and it's to help you build your mental muscle, your leadership skills, your communication skills, and your ability to succeed in whatever journey you're on, what it takes to succeed. So,
All right, thanks, my nigga. But I was wondering, I didn't get the part where you said like, what is the point of learning a new word? Because I think words are actually very good to communicate and everything in it.
Love it. Well done. Good. How old are you, by the way? You sound young.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I'm 50 years old, mate.
You're what?
Just joking with you, mate.
Nice. Well, have a great one. Thank you for being here. Dizzy, you're up next, bud.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You always seem to know what subject to deliver every week. I could relate to so many of the things that you were saying, because I've been in this game ever since I met you 18, 19 years ago, and I've been in and out of the game. And you know what it is? Once you realize what you actually have to do to become successful compared to what the alternatives are, it hits home. And today it hit home that, you know, sometimes, like you said, if you've gone really high and then you fall, you might have cracked a couple of ribs, but the fact of the matter is, listen, you're going to survive, get up and get back out there, because there are fresh opportunities, there are fresh ideas, and there's loads of people that are hungry. So, you know, get out there and do it, because what else are you going to do, right? The economy is not favorable anywhere else in the world. Everyone's struggling. So it's a case of, well, listen, if I show you an opportunity, if you don't do this, what are your options? So yeah, thank you for giving me another level of perspective to deliver the message. And I want to welcome my good friend Lab Guy, who's on today. I hope you enjoyed yourself today, Lab Guy.
Welcome.
And I'll speak to you.
Thank you, Dizzy. Always a pleasure. And yeah, I love that. I was still going to say, give yourself a kick up the backside. Jonas, how we doing, buddy? Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I am come from Ethiopia. I just moved to UK. I've lived here for 2 years, and I would like to know how to raise my self-esteem.
Oh, beautiful. So look, self-esteem comes from your self-perception.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? It's how you perceive yourself. How do you see yourself? What's your inner conversation about you? Very few people ever look at this, by the way. Most people, their self-esteem is based on external evaluation. So they depend on the outside world for their self-esteem, and that's where they go looking for it. Big mistake. Your self-esteem comes from inside. So what you want to do is look at, first of all, to understand your self-esteem, have a look at what you say about yourself on a consistent basis to yourself, especially when life is not going the way you want it to go. Do you beat yourself up? Do you give yourself a hard time? Most people do, by the way. I'm not like sitting there with a crystal ball, but I'm just saying generally this is the pattern that happens. Most people's self-esteem comes from a negative self-talk, giving them a negative self-esteem. To improve your self-esteem, you've got to improve your self-talk, your relationship to yourself. When you relate to yourself better, your self-esteem naturally is lifted and improved, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you relate to yourself badly, like you're useless, you're worthless, you're not deserving, you're not skilled, you're too young, you're too old, you're too weak, you're too this, you're too that, whatever it might be. We've got a whole bunch of stories about ourselves that keep our self-esteem low. And if you want to improve that, then look at the conversations you have about yourself. What are the excuses that you give yourself for not progressing, for not improving, for not growing? What are the stories that you have that feel real as to why not you? And you got to flip those on their head and find out why you. Why should you progress? Why should you succeed? Why should you give yourself reasons? Look for the reasons inside. We all have them. We're all amazing. We're all beautiful human beings with so much to give and offer the world, but we miss it because we're focused on where we lack rather than where we have. Does that make sense?
Yes, I understand what you are saying.
Beautiful. And welcome to England. And yeah, Ethiopia is a neighboring country to my birthplace of Kenya. So lovely to
Wow.
see a fellow East African.
Very nice.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Wonderful. Martin, hey, how we doing? Talking of neighbors. Dubai, how are you, brother?
Fantastic. Did you
Awesome.
invite me specially tonight to listen to my story, my life story?
Love it.
Similar to Dizzy, you know, we've been chugging away, working and trying to break free, set ourselves free. That lady who's just come from Ethiopia, Jonas, I think her name is.
Yes.
Congratulations for moving from one country to another, because I've done that several times and it's tough.
Yeah.
And, you know, but one little tip from me is for that lady is look at yourself in the mirror every morning and say you love yourself. You are beautiful. And that helps dramatically. I mean, I don't do it because I
Well, you'd be
probably
lying,
don't look
wouldn't you?
half as good as you. But it's important, the self-talk, which is what you're talking about, and the whole session tonight is a journey that most of us have been on. That's whether we've got a job, got a business. There's some days we just don't want to go, but we do because we have a boss, like you said. And here, there's only one boss. That's you talking to yourself, and you know, we have to do it. I mean, I know Kalpesh works his guts out. He's got the drive. If we all had 10%, 20% of Kalpesh's drive, we'd have massive numbers coming to these calls. So all we got to do is take a bit of his shirt tail, and learn a little bit every week, keep coming. Just like the lady from Ethiopia, she's keen now to learn. She will succeed because self-esteem will grow.
Beautiful.
Hey, Dizzy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Martin.
Of course, Martin, that's correct.
Anthony, you're up next, buddy. How we doing?
I'm all right. Kalpesh, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you for the training, even though I didn't expect that tonight was going to be a leadership training. I've got a couple of guys I brought on board tonight. The last time we met, some of them didn't quite understand what we're doing so well, and they would have loved to have that understanding tonight. My mistake, because...
Yeah. Well, they've got an opportunity to do that in about 15 minutes. So feel free
15 minutes. Okay, that's fine. That'll be fine. That'll be beautiful.
Awesome.
So I've got a few people quite new again tonight.
Wonderful.
And then they would like to understand better. But then I was quite intrigued with that leadership training. I think there are some basic skills I lack as well, which is what you've stated in today's leadership training, and I'm excited.
Awesome.
I've learned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things, and that will really help in driving some of these business opportunities, right? So I'd like to appreciate you for that that training, and I like to grow from that as well. So
Wonderful.
I have some people who are here tonight, and they'll be willing to listen to you again, perhaps understand the business better, and then we can take it up from there. Right.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you so much, Kalpesh.
You bet. And well done for sharing. Well done for paying it forward, because again, for me, that's another level of growth, another sign of development. You know, often I want to keep all this stuff to ourselves and play small, but the real measure is when we stop playing small, and when you play bigger, it means that you're sharing beyond and above your call of duty. So thank you. Andrew, how are you, my friend? Go ahead and unmute.
Hello, hi Kalpesh. Thanks for
Hey.
the training again. Absolutely
Pleasure always.
marvelous. I think that Sharon mentioned sometimes the meeting needs you, and I'm trying my hardest to speak up on every meeting now.
Boom.
I've done a lot of physical training and sports in my past, and whenever there's been a race or a triathlon or anything like that, I've had that goal. It's been there, and I've done every single bit of training and rest as it goes along till you achieve that goal. Finishes, and that's it. I need another one, and then another one. And what you said, Dizzy, earlier on was, crikey, if you can put that into what you want and knowing what you want and believing that and working towards that, like you do in any kind of sport or anything else that you're really passionate about, it's there. You're going to win and succeed in the best way possible that you really can. And
absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. That's just made a huge connection there for me. Thanks.
Brilliant. I love it. Thank you, Andrew. It's so important. Again, I always like to remind people that we already have everything that we need to succeed. It's not outside. Everything that you need to unlock your next level is available. It's there. It's already there. It's just giving yourself the space to unlock it. And that's what these conversations are about, is peeling the layers of the onion so you can get to that core and go, that's where you're hiding. Gotcha. And once you get hold of that, boom, I guess that's the burning desire, right? We have to strip the layers back to find that burning desire that I often say we're all born with. Every baby that's born is born with abundant energy, right? All babies are born, they're just like there. And then we start building layers around it as we grow older and older and older. And all we do in these events is undo the layers and layers again. So we get back to that core abundance of energy, that infinite energy that's connected to source. Dr. Vinod, what do you reckon?
Hi, Kalpesh. As usual, fantastic training. Every time I hear you, I get motivated to go and do one more presentation tomorrow. But you know what I did? You said stop taking a Coke every day, Coca-Cola. I tried. I gave up for 10 days, and then I'm back on it. So what I'm trying to say is that when Grandpa succeeded and became a director level 6, and he decided to come to Dubai, I can't come to Dubai because I'm still director 4. So I said, why I'm not there? And then I became a fly on the wall, and I said, okay, Dr. Vinod, what have you done today? I haven't done a presentation today. So I said, why haven't you done one? So you know what I'm lacking? That fire. That you say, where is that fire? So I'm now looking for fire. I'll drink my Coke, but I'll have a Coca-Cola. And ignorance on fire will beat their knowledge on ice anytime. So that's not what I'm going to do now. I'm going to get that fire in me again. But you know, sometimes what prevents me? You know, I ask myself all this question because I'm not stupid. Well, I think, oh, look, you're 82 now. What do you want? Why do you want all this money? Or all this fame, or all this? What are you going to do with it? You're going to be average age man is 88 or 86. Why are you doing it? I said, no, I got to do it. And because Kalpesh says do it, and I'm going to do it. So thank you very much. It's a lovely journey, and I love it.
Thank you, Dr. Vinod. And by the way, just on that note, and I will wrap up very quickly because of the time. When you're doing it for money, for fame, or all of those things, it will always burn out. That's never ever enough. So that's why we have to dig so deep. The reason has to be much bigger than ourselves. And that's kind of the secret. You know, for me, I guess the reason it's so easy for me to get back up when I fall and crack a few ribs and break a few bones as well along the way. The reason I can get back up, because it's not about me, and I make it about everyone else. I make it about the footprint that we leave behind on the planet, the dent that we leave while we're here. And that just seems, it works for me. It gives me a much bigger purpose than just serving myself. Because, you know, like you said, you know, we're only going to eat so many meals a day. We're only going to have so many sleeps on this planet while we're here. You know, then what? You know, once that's done, then what? And so for me, it's like, then what? What about once I'm done? It's got to be about more than that. So I hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are now out of time. So I want to love you and leave you all. I hope you've enjoyed that. If you have, I'll see you back here next Wednesday, same time, same place, same link. And please go ahead and bring your people so you can start building a community of people that are on that growth journey with you and building your tribe. Thank you so much. Much love. See you next week.